the 2U Mystery Tour. I'm Alex.
I'm Niku.
And today we are going to be talking about...
Jonathan Luna.
Johnny Luna.
This is actually such a bizarre case, but I've not actually heard many people speak about it. I don't know why it's not bigger than it is, but it's actually about a mysterious death that hasn't been solved to this day. So let's start with a bit of background. So Jonathan Luna, he was born on October 21st in 1965 in the Patterson Housing Project in the Bronx in New York City.
Okay.
At the time of this event, he was 38 years old. But a little bit, I guess, about the start of his life. So the Patterson Housing Project, it's basically like a series of 15 buildings, and they're like 13 stories each, and it's kind of like a low rent housing development. And so he was very determined to kind of leave that beginning. He was so hardworking, and he was described as energetic, well liked, and confident. And he actually studied law at the University of North Carolina, and he got his law degree from there. And he really worked his way up, and he moved to he actually at first worked as a prosecutor in Brooklyn in New York City.
So he became a lawyer.
Yeah, like he's like a prosecutor, and he very much worked in criminal law. So he was prosecuting a big mixture of kind of bad people, like people who did drugs, or like not did drugs, but like who dealt drugs. There was, assault cases, all of that. He dealt with a lot of kind of bad criminals during his career. And he decided to make a career change. Well, not really a career change. It was more like a career opportunity to become an assistant United States attorney. So he made a move to Baltimore to do this. And I had to actually look this up because these are American terms. I feel like prosecutor, attorney. So what I found out is a prosecutor is a lawyer that is only involved in criminal cases. So they represent the state to prosecute someone who may be guilty, whereas an attorney is a lawyer who works for the state but can represent the state in all matters, not just criminal matters. So I think it's like a level up, basically, because they're like, they can deal with a wider variety.
Yes, they can do it.
But they also do criminal as well. Not it's just not just criminal.
But it's just for that state still.
Again, I don't know, because he's a United States attorney, so I feel like maybe he can be like, because I know the states are almost their own countries, aren't they? Like,
to an extent, they have their own laws and that's a point actually, because you'd have to be practiced in, you'd have to know like the law of every state and what's different and stuff like that. That might be a bit annoying.
Like, I know that Baltimore is in Maryland, which is a different state to New York City. So I'm not sure. I don't know the details, but basically it was a career opportunity that he moved to Baltimore for. Awesome. And so in terms of family life, Jonathan married a woman called Angela Hopkins in 1993. And she was an obstetrician, which is...
She was a what?
An obstetrician.
What is that?
A doctor who specializes in pregnancy. So I can't pronounce it though. So they had 2 children together, and they lived in a city called Elkridge in Maryland. But that's like, I read it's like 10-minute drive from Baltimore and the place, like the courthouse they worked in. Okay. So that's a bit of background.
Nice commute.
Yeah. So let's actually speak about the incident that we're investigating today. So in December of 2003, Jonathan was in the middle of a trial at work. And it was a trial between, it was actually a drug deal trial. Like it was like about drug crimes.
It's always someone versus the state.
Yeah, something like, it was like that. And he spent the morning of December 3rd in court working on a plea agreement for 2 defendants in a drug trial that he was prosecuting. Okay. So they obviously came to a deal. And they were going to give them a plea deal.
Yeah.
And one of the defendants was like a locally well-known rap artist.
Okay.
And he was being accused of running a heroin ring, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was going to be presented to the judge the next morning, and Jonathan wanted it to be like no mistakes at all, and it was really important for him to get this right, especially because a few days before the judge had fined him for being late into court. So he was like, no, I need to get this right. So he was working in the office until around 6 p.m. and he went home from the courthouse and he sat down and had dinner. But after dinner, he says to his wife, okay, I need to go back to the office and work on this plea deal. Like, this is so important. So he goes back to the office and at about 8:50 p.m., he gets back to the courthouse. And when he's there for like an hour or so. And then he thinks after an hour, he's like, okay, I'm going to take this all back home. And I'm
all the information and just do it at home.
I mean, he's like, okay, I went home, I came back. Yeah. I'm going to go back home now and finish this off at home now. Yeah. So he leaves the courthouse again and goes back home. And he's working at home now until around 11 p.m. When he receives a phone call on his cell phone. And after he hangs up this phone call, he tells his wife that he needs to go back to the office again. Okay. And work on this.
And this is at 11 p.m.
11 p.m., yeah. And he's like, I need to go back to the office again. And so he starts working from the office again later that night. And like, so we never really found out who this phone call was from. And like, I feel like 2003, I don't think cell phones are very... You're not going to have an Apple iPhone, are you?
You might do.
2003. I had a Nokia in like 2007.
When did iPhone come out?
I think it's like
we should know this because it was in a TV show we just watched. I think you might be right. I think like 2000.
Well, no, 2007 was the TV show we just watched.
So in 2006 it came out then, or 2007?
Yeah, something like that. So this is still the era of like not a lot of social media, and like the phones are probably not very.
How old was I in 2003?
You were.
Oh God.
You're 8.
No way.
You're 8.
Was I?
2003.
Oh my goodness.
9 maybe? I don't know.
I'm derailing the thing.
Yeah, you're digressing. Sorry. So where were we? So yeah, we don't find out who the phone call was from really, but this prompts him to go into the office. So I'm like, okay, as a lawyer, you probably isn't it. You know, if you watch Suits, it's not that unusual to be in the office.
To watch anything that like has any lawyer kind of thing. Yeah.
Like it's very
fall asleep at your desk.
Pretty much.
Papers all around you.
The impression I get of like lawyers is that they work really long hours and they work really like late or they go back into the office. And even for us, like I wouldn't be surprised if you had to go back into the office at night. Like, but I think it's just a bit strange that he was prompted to go back twice. Like he went so many times back and forth. I feel like, so we know that like he got to the office and his car was accounted for in the parking lot and it was there until about 11:30 p.m. So we know that much for sure. It's just his movements after that are a bit of a mystery.
Wait, can we just go through the timeline again quickly?
Yeah.
So he's working. He leaves the office at 6 p.m. to go in for dinner. Works till 8:45 p.m. No, goes back to the office at 8:45 p.m. Then he decides after an hour or so, I'm just going to go home again and take all the stuff home. I'll go home and then at 11 p.m. he's then like, actually, I'm going to go back to the office, and then his car is there until 11:30 p.m.
So he's been accounted for. His car is being seen in the car park at 11:30.
Okay. Oh, okay, because he's travel time and stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Thank you.
I know a little bit, a lot of timings. I think
I was just back and forth. I just wanted to make sure that I knew where he was. Is it home or the office?
Well, it's actually this is the straightforward part. Then it becomes a mystery, and we're like, where'd he go? So later that night, so he's going to the office, and his car's been seen at 11:30. I'm not sure when. At some point, maybe like a few hours or something. Jonathan's wife starts to get concerned because he doesn't return home, and she can't get a hold of him. through his cell phone or through his office phone.
Yeah.
And so she calls the police and reports him missing.
At what time?
At some point in the early hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
so I haven't been able to find out what exact time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter, I suppose.
No.
But the annoying thing about this case is that with his job, you're probably not going to tell your spouse anything about.
You can't.
Yeah, well, you can't.
Legally,
yeah.
you can't.
So his wife actually doesn't know anything about any of his work stuff and why he's going back and forth, because she probably didn't even ask, because she knew that it was confidential.
Yeah.
So we can't get any information from her. And the following day, so December 4th in the morning at like 9:30 a.m., Jonathan fails to show up to court. And that is when, they know something is wrong, because this was such a big deal.
He's been fined for being late before.
Well, the U.S. Attorney's Office raised a missing person's alarm.
Oh.
Because obviously this is a big deal that he's not showed up to work.
Yeah.
But little did they know that by the time that they raised the alarm at 9:30 a.m., his body had already been found.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's talk about what happened to him after 11:30 p.m.
Yeah. Wait, so they raised the alarm at
9:30 a.m. the next day, yeah.
Thank you.
So sorry about all this timeline
No,
situation.
you're fine. It's just, I just need to
I hope everyone keeping up. So his body was actually found in Denver, in Pennsylvania. So, I mean, obviously us in Britain, we don't know as well the states, but basically Denver is in Pennsylvania, which is a 3-hour drive from Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so like the Maryland state is like south of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So you would drive northways basically to get to Pennsylvania for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So there was a rest stop employee that spotted a red light in the dark in the wooded area near the rest stop. And this was around 5 a.m.
And this is an employee, the employee in Denver.
And no, this is in, this is in Pennsylvania. So this is how his body was basically found.
Okay, sorry.
There was a rest stop. The employee spots like this red light from a car in the distance in the woods near the rest stop at around 5 a.m. Once his colleague arrives at like 5:30 a.m. and they're like, what is that light? Like, this is quite...
it's still there.
Yeah, it's still quite dark as well. So it's quite prominent, this light. So they go and check it out at like 5:30 a.m. And they found like a car with the engine still running and just like in kind of like a ditch, kind of like abandoned almost. And there's like blood all around it. There's blood in the back seat. So they're like, they don't really know what's going on. So they call the police and the police show up. And this is like in the middle of nowhere, by the way. Like, I think it was like the police they called had to be like the state police. They don't have their own police in like this town. So the police show up and they're like, the guys are like, yeah, we don't know who's driven. We don't know where the driver is. And the police straight away see the driver and these guys couldn't see him. Like the driver is literally in a ditch, like just beneath the car.
What, like as in he's underneath the...
He's like in the creek, kind of. There's like a creek.
Okay.
And the police like see him, but like these guys couldn't see him. I don't know how, but basically the police saw him and it was Jonathan and he was face down in the creek. And basically, this is really brutal, and I feel like I should give like a trigger warning here, like in case. Basically, Jonathan was found to have 36 stab wounds, and it was actually stab wounds from his own pocket knife, and he had been drowned in the creek as well. So it was just a brutal, terrible way to die, I think. And so how did he even end up here at 5:30 a.m.? How was he from 11:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m.? What happened to him in this space of time? So we know that he left the courthouse at 11:38 p.m. So he was there for 8 minutes.
Interesting.
He didn't even do any work, I don't think. Like, he arrived at 11:30.
Maybe you need to pick something up.
He left at 11:30.
That's like a I need to go in and pick something up kind of time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like he left at 11:38 p.m. So there's like 5 hours of time that we need to account for. So we're able to kind of follow his car from Baltimore to this creek in Pennsylvania because I'll tell you about this system that America has. It's called so they have like toll roads and toll bridges. Do you know about this?
Yeah, because it automatically charges you.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Do we have them here?
We don't have ones that automatically charge us, but there is bridges that require money to go pass through.
Right. Oh, but that's like going from city to city, I suppose.
Yes, or going into a city.
So it's
these crossing water.
Right, because there's obviously so many cities in America, so I feel like maybe that's just more common.
Yes, and the automated side of things, I'm sure there is still places that you like. A good example, I think in London, if you enter the city centre, they'll bill you for if you're in a car that from that gas emissions tax thing.
Yeah,
they'll bill you for being in the city centre. You don't like stop and pay. They'll just find your car because they know your details. So it's number plate recognition. They say
it costs £15 to breathe in London.
Yep.
That true. So yeah, this is how basically we can keep track. I had to Google what this toll thing was, but it just shows I'm out in the country, in Scotland. But basically, there's some notes to be taken. He left his cell phone in the office, so he obviously got out of his car, went to his office because his cell phone was found in his office, and so were his glasses. And he left without them within 8 minutes. And he started to drive northeastwards, which makes sense because that's where Pennsylvania is. And he used the Easy Pass on his car to go to Delaware. So the Easy Pass is like that instant paying for tolls because it's like within his car. And so he was using that. And
the car,
the car has like an EZ Pass, I think, inside it, but you can I think you can disable it as well.
It just automatically registers you going through.
Yeah. So so the toll collection system was tracking him in that way, and so he goes through 3 toll interchanges that are automatic on his car, and then after the third one, he switches to buying toll tickets manually instead.
Okay.
I don't know why. Like, why after 3, he's like... And he's still in, like... It's not like he changed states or anything, state lines. He's still in, like, Maryland. But he's like...
Just maybe the car...
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Like... And then so he starts to buy them manually instead. So once he's out of the state and he enters New Jersey and then Pennsylvania, he buys them manually. And at 12:57 a.m., $200 is withdrawn from his bank account from an ATM machine. But there's no CCTV cameras, of course, to show him at the ATM or anything.
Yeah.
Is there ever any CCTV cameras working ever? No.
Right.
So then we don't know what happened to him from 12:57 a.m. until 3:20 a.m. Okay. At 3:20 a.m., his debit card was used to buy gas. So we're at 3:20 a.m. now. And then at 4:04 a.m., bear in mind, he's still alive at 4:04 a.m. and his body's found at 5:30. So it's a very short time.
Quick, yeah.
So 4:04 a.m., his car entered Pennsylvania, but at this time he's still buying toll tickets manually. And this toll ticket at that specific interchange to enter Pennsylvania had a spot of Luna's blood on it. So that could suggest he was already injured. And there was a toll ticket handed in to that interchange with blood on it, and it was Jonathan's blood
I'm
on
confused. So they give a ticket to someone.
Yeah, I think like you put in a ticket, like it's like when you like leave a shopping center and you take a ticket and you
put the ticket back in.
Yeah, something like that.
Ah. Oh, okay. Why would you do that?
I think it's like, I don't know how it works really, but there was like,
we'll look it up in a minute.
Yeah, we'll need to look it up. But I think it's one of those things where it's not like you're buying it from someone, you're like buying it off a machine.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're not finding the toll ticket like in the car that could have blood in it because he's been like stabbed in the car.
No, they found a toll ticket at that interchange. Okay. It was handed in and it had blood on it. And the blood was Jonathan's.
Yeah.
So it could suggest he was already injured at this time. And then it was 5:30 that they called the police, but it was really like 5 a.m. that we're confirmed, because that's when he saw the light, that car light. So he was alive in the hour before he was found. So it's very, and the car's still running. So believe it or not, the police have ruled this as suicide, or they tried to, but they had some backlash.
36 stab wounds.
36 stab wounds, yeah. And obviously you can tell it's like not accepted by a lot of people. How can you stab yourself 36 times? Like,
yeah.
So the reason for why they have decided or said it was a suicide is because he had no substantial defense wounds, like on his arms or anything, like as if he had just tried to stop anybody stabbing him. And some of the stab wounds were artificial, like not artificial, but like superficial. So it showed some hesitation. Still though. And in addition to this, they've actually refused to release the autopsy results. And to this day, they refuse to release them. And I wonder if it's because it would counteract their suicide theory. I don't know. Other reasons why they think it might have been a suicide is because it came out that Jonathan was in $25,000 of debt. So I'm thinking, is it that much though to be in $25K of debt? If you think about how he was at like college and you have to pay for college there, like
that in the grand scheme of things, 25 grand of debt. So how old was he?
He's 38.
He's 38, so not.
And he's like got 2 kids. I don't know, like I wonder.
Know if it's that bad. I mean,
it's not
great, but it's not like extreme. Like people can leave uni with or university or college with like 100,000. Like if you're a dental or a medical student, you can leave with like $100,000 worth of debt.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's enough to be like a reason for someone dying, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean it depends what kind of like living situation they're in, but I would imagine if you're a lawyer working for the I don't know the kind of like earnings of like a state attorney versus kind of those private ones that work for the big celebrities, but yeah, I would think if you're living in a house, if you're in debt, the question is, why are you in that debt?
Yeah, it's never really made clear why he's in debt. He had a charge card. Have you ever heard of a charge card? So it's basically the same as a credit card, but you have to pay back the full amount immediately at the end of the month. Why would you get that? Why wouldn't you just get a credit card? Like, I mean, you'd just end up in debt, wouldn't you, with a charge card?
The point is that you're meant to, you're expected to spend within your means.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, if you don't, you probably rack up. The interest rate will be ridiculous on that. Yeah,
they don't do no free, like a free
0%.
Yeah, they don't do the 0% like for a couple of years at the start and stuff like that. It's like a proper.
Oh, they'll. That's a way to get into debt.
Well, the fact it was mentioned that he had one of them, so I wonder if that's how he got into debt, was because of this charge cards. And there was also another fact, which is that Jonathan was scheduled to take a lie detector test concerning a $36,000 $36,000 that disappeared from a bank robbery case that he had prosecuted. So he was the prosecutor in this robbery, but for some reason he had to do a lie detector test as well. And he was set to do that in the coming days or something like that. And I don't know why he would have to do that. Were they suspecting him of something, even though he was the prosecutor?
Do we know the outcome of that trial?
No, we don't know, but I couldn't find it, but it's just like the thought maybe of the fact that he's going for a lie detector test. Did he have something to hide?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the outcome of the trial was like that they got off and he was a really bad prosecutor, was he like paid off? Yeah. Okay.
There are some, obviously these are like the kind of things that might back up the suicide theory. There's also the homicide theory, which I think is more likely, because the coroner ruled it as a homicide. And
the coroner did?
The coroner ruled it as a homicide by drowning, but not from stab wounds.
Brutal.
But the autopsy results have not been released. Like, we don't know why the coroner ruled it as that, if that makes sense. And
I can tell you why.
Well, we'll find out. And Jonathan also left his glasses at the office, and he needs them to drive, which suggests that he wasn't driving. And the pool of blood was found in the back seat. Why is it in the back seat? And also, he had called a defense attorney earlier that night saying he would fax over some documents, but they never arrived. So he had plans that night to do stuff. Like, what happened to him at the office for him to leave? But yeah, the floor is yours now.
Okay. So he had plans that night as well. I definitely don't think he was driving at all, at any point.
Yeah.
I think once he went in and came out, he probably did go to... Well, no, even I think that people could have even been in his office. I don't know how secure it is to get into an office like that.
The courthouse, I feel like, would be quite secure.
No, yeah, you would think so.
And I would have thought there would be, like, the fact that they saw his car in the car park. Did they see, like, if they had seen other figures, we would know about it?
It's whether he...
Did he meet someone?
That's what I'm saying. He could have... Because if you're leaving your glasses and your phone at the place, like, to me that says someone's taken you.
For me, I feel like someone's told you not to take your phone in case it gets pinged.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. But
like tracking or something.
I suppose there's just a panic. The glasses are panic move. And then you get in the car. I don't think because it was his car was seen. His car was seen there till 11:30 p.m. And at 11:38, it was seen leaving the courthouse. But how was it seen leaving the courthouse? Through CCTV?
I think it's one of those things where it opens.
It just logs. It's a log.
Yeah, I think it's like a log.
So you don't know who's in that car driving that car at that time. So I'm thinking that he was like someone was just like, get in the car. Got in the car. We're driving you down here. Well, could have been for any of the cases. He's a prosecutor, so it could have been. Who knows what the case was? If he was prosecuting the other one as well, like that 30K disappearance lie detector, could have been something to do with that. It could have been something to do with the heroin one as well. Who knows? It could have been one from like a different one as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be the current one that he was supposed to do a plea deal for the next day, because the people who were like getting prosecuted, they were getting a plea deal. Like obviously, I thought they'd be happy. Like
yeah, that's a fair point.
So it must. I think. Well, no,
they were offering them a plea deal. That's a different thing.
But they were like accepting it.
They were accepting it.
Well, it was like a plea deal that they were going to go ahead with.
Okay.
Like he was going to show it to the judge. The plea deal. So he's obviously spoken to them.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So I feel like he's trying to actually get them less time or something. But I think it's a previous case. I think it must be some sort of a vendetta.
Yeah. It's like he's 25K in debt from some pretty bad people, and they've come to find him. And then here's my pit. Here's what I'm thinking happened. And it's gonna go a bit like, I'm picturing this sounds quite bad, but I'm picturing it as like film.
Yeah.
Like, from a film
from
a film perspective. So like, he gets held up and he's like, they're like, get in the car, start driving, start going through tolls. And then there's going to be a reason they started paying the toll tickets things, or it's either you have to start paying for the tickets because they don't have this technology on those toll barriers. Like, the automatically
I think it was
log
a decision.
things.
Like,
Then maybe.
Is it tracking? Did they think
maybe they thought
that
they wouldn't be? Yeah, like at one point, maybe that's when did they stop 3 auto tolls? So they might have entered the last kind of. It might have been when they started getting into a new state.
They did, yeah. So it's when they started entering Pennsylvania.
So there you go. So they'll have thought that they might have been able to get away without being tracked if they kind of went manual rather than automated, like logging of it going through. Obviously, it didn't work. And then the blood on his hands is probably from like punching him in the face or something. He's like nosebleed.
Why is he handling the ticket if he's not driving? Like, why would they? If someone else is driving and they're putting in tickets,
yeah.
Why is it his blood?
Because they'll have punched him in the face or stabbed him.
And they got his blood on them.
Yeah. And then they're like talking to him, like I don't know whether it's threatening him or whatever, and then they get to a point where they think they're safe. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere really around about. There's a ditch. We can drive his car into the ditch and then stab him a whole heap of times, leave him face down, because if you've been stabbed 36 times, your body's not going to want to move.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is you are going to drown, because you can't move yourself to move your head to kind of stop from the inhalation of, because you're probably dying from both stab wounds and drowning. So that's my thought, is that someone, like, I'm going to say it's 2 people, because I'm going to say there's one person in the back that's holding him, and then there's one person in the front that's driving, and then at the end they just like stab him a lot of times, leave him drowned face down, and then get a lift back.
How did they get away in basically half an hour, I feel like? Because he got into Pennsylvania at like 4 and his body was like found at 5.
Well, they could have just, like, they could have had someone following them. They could have had someone. They could have had someone in the area just pick them up.
Yeah.
As soon as they were done, just pick them up and go. Done.
So this sounds like a gang to me, or like some. It sounds. I don't think it's like very professional, because it's like very out in the open. They've left him, and
I know what you mean.
But
it's also like that theory of like, if we use paper tickets, they won't be able to trace us.
Yeah, that's not very professional,
it's slightly naive,
is it? Like, like it's not very. It's not like
that's
a assassin or something, but what did he do that was so major that like a group came after him almost, And who was that call from that made him go out, and basically he took the bait almost?
Well, but he might not have taken the bait. They might have been like, you come out here or we're going to kill your family. Like, we don't, like, there could have been threats involved, or they could have got him as he may have literally been like gone, like if he's going back and forth, they might have just been telling him to do things or ditch things, like burn evidence. I'll just work from home. Like, it turns out he's like burning evidence or something, or it's to me I think I agree. I think it is kind of gang related in some way. It like kind of in my head, like, as I said, I'm pitching it like a film. But then it's like 2 guys that are doing it. For what reason, I don't know. He could have been. We don't really know. But again, with the autopsy thing, with them not releasing the autopsy report, and it being ruled as a suicide, even though the coroner said he had died it was a homicide by drowning. It all screams that like someone, like even like there's someone in the police force that's kind of changed that narrative.
Yeah.
And they've helped. They've written the narrative, whoever it may be, whoever the powers may be. So he probably was a thorn in someone's side.
Yeah. I don't think it was
Maybe it was revenge killing, or it was something that was upcoming, or it had to do with that 36K lie detector. Because I agree with you. I don't think the
current case.
No, I don't think it's
No,
it doesn't
I don't think so
scream.
either. And I think he was like trying to help them out almost that day. And it's such a mystery because there was a
That's why it's on the mystery tour.
Yeah, I know. There was kind of petitions to release the autopsy reports, and the court denied them. This was in 2020, I think. They were asked to release them, but it was denied because they said it would compromise an active and live investigation. I'm not being funny. It's been like, it was 2003.
Yeah, but surely that means that they have evidence to suggest that he was killed. Or if it compromises a live and active
suicide thing.
If it compromises a live and active investigation, that's what I mean.
They always release autopsy results, though. It doesn't usually compromise anything.
What if they discover that the person who had released it as a suicide, like, they're corrupt, they're in with a gang, so they're investigating them, i.e. then that autopsy does become part of that investigation. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
That really is like a movie then. Like, that's surely not.
That's interesting though. That's mad.
Yeah, I just want to know why.
There's a couple of these. That one we did before, where the guy with the phone call. Yeah, that Brandon Lawson boy. He like, that to me was like that's also for one for me. I'm like, I'd love to know what actually happened there.
Yeah, if there was like a case that you could find out exactly what happened, I want to know what happened to Brandon Lawson.
In fact, I want to know what happened to all of them. Like,
yes,
the Atlas Pass.
all of them.
One of the days the aliens will
You'll
tell
find
us.
out
Sorry,
if it was aliens.
I'm digressing from the point.
And the Norway Oslo Plaza Hotel. I want to know what happened there.
Yeah. There's so many.
Too many.
But no, I think that's pretty much all I've got for that one. I think, like, to say it's a suicide is mad. From what you've described there, it sounds mad.
No, I think it's also because it was his own pocket knife.
Yeah.
And I'm just
you just take it out of his pocket.
And I do.
Or you take it out of the car. Like, he could have not even had it on his person.
Do you not think that's unplanned though? The fact that they didn't have a weapon. Did this escalate? Where?
Oh, there you go. Let's make it more like a film.
Oh, God.
I don't mean to make light of anything, but imagine he's like behind the driver.
Yeah.
And then they're driving down, and he grabs him. Right. So they're driving. They're in Pennsylvania. They're in Pennsylvania, right? They're driving down, and it is only two people. There's just two people.
Yeah.
And he's been knocked out beforehand. That's why there's blood on the ticket. So someone's punched him in the face. They've got blood in their hand. They put the ticket in the thing. That's why there's blood in their hand. They've knocked him out. He wakes up. Then Jonathan grabs him from behind. Grabs him. Goes around the driver's seat. Grabs him. There's a scuffle. He's like reaching down. Turns out his pocket knife's like in one of the compartments of the car.
Yeah.
Scuffle. Okay, they crash the car. The car goes into the ditch. Scuffle. He goes to run, and as he runs, the boy comes out of the driver's seat.
You're really getting
pops
imaginative.
Him, stabs him.
Yeah.
And then just goes and just gets really angry and just starts stabbing him, and then disappears into the forest. So that's the way that there could be one person.
I wonder if this was actually meant to be a kidnapping.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like, we'll release this lawyer if you release our prisoners or something. Like, they were maybe trying to do like some sort of deal by taking him, and it escalated because he had a pocket knife that he maybe tried to use, or they saw him have it. Because then
why would you leave your phone?
Well, that's the thing. They didn't want to be tracked. They have these little things
that's what I mean.
They think tracks. Well, I suppose you would still have cell tower blocks.
But that to me says, like, either it's premeditated and they know, they're like, look, we will like harm your family if you don't do what we say. Go put your phone away and come back. Because otherwise, like, if someone like approached him, if he got to the courthouse and then someone approached him and was like, go get something, come back, and then we're going to take you, he'll surely do something in the courthouse. Just be like, can you send help, please?
Yeah.
There's got to be some reason for him to have left it, in my head. Or he's having an affair. and it went not very well.
Oh, I don't think so.
No.
I think this was like to do with his job. I just have this big feeling it was. I don't know, because I just feel like if he wasn't a lawyer, maybe I would welcome that idea. But it's just the fact that he's a criminal lawyer and he has prosecuted many criminals in his career.
I think you're right. Yeah, I agree. That's interesting though, because I do like all of the, like, I think as soon as you say kind of that lawyer type, like that happening thing, because I'm so, like, I think we're both very disconnected from that world, in fact, in terms of what we actually do for a living. The only times that we kind of understand that is through film and TV. So it does almost, like, that's what I'm picturing it in my head. It's like kind of...
I've heard that being a lawyer is nothing like TV, but this is like sound. That's why we keep thinking it's a film, because it's literally like the films. Every day... That kind of profession every day is not like this at all, which is this is why it's so bizarre, and I'm so surprised that it's not talked about. This was the first time I heard about this, like very recently, which I was surprised about. But yeah, that's our case today.
That's interesting.
Yeah, let us know what you think happened to Jonathan Luna in the comments below.
Yes, and if you have any more information for us, that would be a delight.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you for listening, watching, viewing. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed Niku's tale. And yeah, as Niku said, let us know in the comments if you like what you think, and also if there's anything you want us to cover.
Yeah, we take requests.
Yeah, so as long as they're unsolved and mysterious, but there might be something new in the pipeline, in the works. But yeah, thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.